Growth hack your brand and then destroy anything that moves.
You need to grind hustle your platform manifest.
It's all about entropy, elegance, and finance. Blockchain.
Invest in real estate every day.
Invest in meal estate every morning.
You need to mind hack the mind shackles that are grabbing your mind. Entrepreneurs.
Entrepreneurs. Entrepreneur. Teach a man to fish and he'll eat for a day. Eat the man who just fished and you'll eat for a lifetime.
Spartans!
Business money hacks.
Hi everybody, welcome.
Our arrows will blot out the sun.
There's like a pause on that, and it throws me off every time. I really dislike that.
There's no pause. As long as there's sounds going on, then everybody's interested, and we're going to
I
listen
hate
to
it. Anyway, welcome to Business Money Hacks.
We're keeping it in, Bridge. We're keeping it in because it's exactly what we're trying to get across to the listeners.
Our arrows will blot out the sun. Okay.
It's a metaphor, Bridge. It's a metaphor.
All right. Well, let's just.
All right.
Yeah. Hi everybody. Welcome to Business Money Hacks. I'm Bridge Stewart.
And I'm Dustin Taylor Hahn.
Today we're going to be talking about how to get your company running as smoothly and efficiently as possible, how you really orchestrate your workforce.
In the early 20th century, there was a lot of unions coming about. It was the worst thing you could have for a business is unionizing and having...
Absolutely. They form unions, which is extremely dangerous.
Bands of rebels, they form...
Bands of rebels, and I don't think, the founding fathers would have wanted that. I feel like the American founding fathers they believed in a country built on an iron grasp
on their people. Yeah, I distinctly remember in the history books, George Washington, after the Revolutionary War, they wanted a president, and he said, "No, I'm going to be king. I want to be king."
Yeah, and that's kind of like how I like to think about it, I run your company as if George Washington had become king of America. Washington hack your tech startup is what I say. Mm-hmm. Imagine yourself as a king with his serfs below him. That's, I think, how you should run your company.
Yeah, when you have underlings, how do you keep them working? How do you keep them going? Having workers even looking at each other throughout the day is just a distraction.
Talking with each other, laughing.
Having lunch. You need an hour to eat.
It's outrageous. I can eat while I jog, and I often do that.
There was a time where you had an IV connected to you.
Just throughout the day, I had a pouch duct taped to my arm, feeding me nutrients. I could work all day.
I thought that was a smart move. You had a catheter connected as well.
Yeah, it was great. I had my sugar pack on my right arm, and I had my salt pack on my left arm, and it just kept feeding me nutrients. I felt so strong and so energetic. I did suffer a mild heart attack from that, but honestly, that's a small price to pay to be strong and that godlike. It was a great feeling.
I remember when you called me up and you needed to be taken directly to a private hospital, and my doctor said, "Oh, you're on the sugar salt diet. That's great. Well, what's the problem?" Standard stress or something. Certainly not
stress.
The sugar.
I would hope it isn't. I mean, I've recommended the pouch technique to everybody. A few people have picked up on it, but it's a great thing. I think I just slammed my arm into a door, and that just sent a rush of sugar into my arm. And
you got to be careful with that.
Yeah.
There's definitely the balance you need for sugar and salt. I've done a lot of research into Gregor Mendel.
No.
He was the founder of science of the
Oh,
sciences.
yeah.
Gregor Mendel.
Yeah.
What he found out was that human beings are just a few chromosomes away from fruit flies, and all we really need are pouches of sugar and pouches of salt.
I think it's important to look at humanity as sort of like one big fruit fly just slurping up nutrients left and right. And I feel like I was kind of epitomizing that. But yeah, I mean, just don't get really angry and start slamming doors. I slammed my arm into a door, and that's what sent me into cardiac arrest. So be careful.
It's great now because now you have how many hearts?
I have one heart, but it's from 4 different people.
You kind of got a Frankenstein heart.
I mean, it pumps strong. Sometimes it just stops. So I'll collapse onto the ground, start spasming. But when I'm not doing that, I feel like a titan. I feel like I can lift things that are twice as heavy than before I had my Frankenstein
You have
heart.
short bursts of stamina,
Yeah.
followed by a long recession of heart failure.
Exactly. This drives back to the point, like, I almost kind of see my body as a workforce. My heart is like an employee that... my
You gotta
heart...
work that hard.
Yeah, my heart is a great employee. But, I mean, this kind of goes back to the work that you're doing with sort of biological stuff. If only you could have an employee that consisted of, like, 5 different people. You could Frankenstein them together. You could have a very efficient employee workforce.
Well, right now I have... let me see. What did we get rid of? We threw some of them are now offshore.
Okay.
They're no longer working for us anymore. So I think we have about 1,800 people working for me right now. Most of them are on the statue that I'm building.
Okay.
But the rest of them, organ donating. People.
Oh yeah.
People
I mean,
donate
that's
their organ if something happens to them.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been cloning sheep for organs and other animals, but there's nothing like a good human.
Do you have any animal components?
Behind me, see, I have starting to grow a little nub on the back of my coccyx.
I
bone.
definitely see
I'm
that.
trying to-
Yeah.
If I could get a monkey tail, that would be something I'm looking for. So I don't even have to think, and it could do work for me.
Increasing efficiency.
If my monkey tail wants to grab a scalpel and just start, stabbing away at something that I'm working on, then that's great. It has a mind of its own.
Yeah. I mean, you could even get multiple tails. Mm-hmm. And why do they always need to be in your back? You could have tails coming out of your arms.
And they don't all have to be monkeys. They could be different. They could be...
Squid.
What's a useful tail? Like a squid? If I could be a squid man, that would be one wonderful thing. And that goes back to efficiency, really.
Yeah, definitely. It all goes back to efficiency. Absolutely. I completely agree.
Bridge, I have a question for you. First of all, how's Soft doing?
Soft, it's having its growing pains. We've had to do, again, another round of layoffs. I'll just say it, the workforce, the workplace, the environment is just kind of toxic right now. There's been a lot
Bad
of...
toxic or good toxic?
Maybe, I don't like to think in terms of negative. So maybe we say it's like a fun toxic environment. So, yeah, I have had to withhold pay for about a month and a half of the employees. This has not gone well. This has not gone well with the employees. They don't appreciate that. And so this, going back to our
Have you
concept...
tried yelling at them?
I have. I've done a lot of yelling. I've done a lot of screaming. I've gotten in their faces. I've insulted them. A lot of times it sort of makes it worse. So, no, it's not working. That's not working for some reason. And I could say that employee morale is extremely low. What I've been trying to do is to get into their mind state to improve morale. Try to figure out what it is that makes them angry or sad or depressed or, in some cases, suicidal. This is what every CEO, what every tech entrepreneur has to deal with. Because when they get too depressed, they don't work
They
as
don't
well.
move. They're paralyzed in fear.
They're paralyzed in fear. They're paralyzed in depression. So that doesn't work either.
Yeah, I find that there's a certain balance of scaring your employees, like completely frightening them to the point of should I jump off or should I stay and work? In the animal world, they call it fight and flight. Like, how do you do it? An example.
You're doing a very bad job. I hate you. You're a bad person. You're a very, very bad person, and I want to strangle you. Right now at the state they're in, they just start crying. They just sit at the desk and start crying and looking at the screen. Why am I here? What am I doing? It's a tough line. You can't let them be too happy either, because that's just plummets efficiency.
Something I want to talk about is the fluid efficiency. You're saying that a lot of your employees are crying.
Yeah.
Do you provide, is there water coolers in the office? There's an issue with hydration as well.
I provide water. there is a beautiful tap at our office that they can remove the water from that tap. I don't provide a water cooler. Those things are filthy. So yeah, there's a beautiful tap that my employees can drink from, like they did in the taps from ancient Rome.
So like a watering hole, essentially.
Yeah, sort of like, just a big watering hole that all the employees can gather around and...
I imagine your overweight accountant is like a hippopotamus just bathing in that watering hole. And then you have, the tall guy, Gary, who's working in sales, and he's got an extremely long neck, like as if he was a giraffe.
Yeah.
And he's just drinking. And they're all just gathering together at the watering hole talking about, should we have an uprising or not?
I don't want them talking too much, but no, that's a great analogy. Just a bunch of disgusting animals gathering around a putrid watering hole. That's how I look at my workforce.
That's good. I kind of do things a little bit differently at the Coliseum. So we have a medical staff, and when one of the workers yell out, help, the medical staff comes in, grabs them and the rest of their family, and we take we cut out their organs.
Okay.
At that point, they don't want to work anymore. If they don't want to work, it's all volunteer. If they don't want to work, they don't get to be in the Coliseum anymore, and they don't get to enjoy the entertainments that I provide.
Yeah, that's...
So at that point, it's like, put up or shut up. Sort of like a pirate ship. Is it like,
Yeah, run them under...
You're walking the plank at that point.
Run them under the hole, you know?
And we do have a plank where I would throw the workers overboard.
Into the sea. Okay, so that's very interesting. You use sort of a threat of physical abuse as a way to sort of motivate.
The best motivator is desperation and the threat of starvation.
Yeah. It's interesting. I actually might disagree with you on some of these subjects. I think...
I understand that you have to go by a certain standard because you're still doing business
I'm in the United States, but I also think that psychological torment is also as equally of a powerful motivator. For example, my secretary, she is a great worker, I'll say it, but there was one day, I believe her mother had passed away, and I'm totally fine with that. I'm totally fine with her mother passing away. Gotta show up. Gotta get that work done. Gotta make sure and get everything squared away with your work. I noticed she was slipping a little bit in her work, and so I like to just sort of go up to her and be like, hey, you're looking like a sad face. You're looking like a real sad woman. You're looking sad. What's going on with this sadness over here? And just really got into her about the sadness and, sort of kind of picked things up a little bit, calling her a sad face. So, yeah, I think that's a fun way to sort of improve morale.
I almost feel a certain level of jealousy because the amount of regulations you have to abide by are absolutely atrocious in the States.
It's like a suffocating blanket.
Would you ever consider trying what I do?
Moving to New Zealand, creating a compound run by prison labor, constructing Colossus, and creating biological hybrid animals. Mm-hmm. I've considered it. I know you trust the New Zealand government. I don't trust the New Zealand government. I think it's going the way of the United States, getting soft. There's going to be more and more union regulations. There's going to be more government regulations that are going to come into New Zealand. You might see it different, but I think the New Zealand is going to get real soft real quick here.
Well, that's one thing too. I'm almost hoping they get soft because when the government gets soft, they get weak, and then I can, expand my land.
Wow.
There you go.
Yeah, I mean, that's a beautiful idea of us being founding fathers in a country that could flourish under an iron grip with our morale standards, employee morale standards. I think sky's the limit. Space is the limit. The stars are the limit for us, which we will eventually take, as humanity deserves. Humanity deserves the stars.
Cryptic, very cryptic thoughts you have there, Bridge. I'd love for you to expand on that. Next week we're going to be having Gavin Gunners, and he worked for NASA actually, and I think they kicked him out of NASA. I don't really know the full story. You should learn about it, but he knows a lot of the ins and outs of NASA, some of the secret projects that they're working on, deep space, some things that.
I definitely have some things to talk about him.
That's a good place to stop unless you have anything else to say.
No, I think we've covered a lot of great topics today on employee morale, and hopefully you, the viewer, can sort of pick up on these tips, how to use your workforce. This scales. You can apply these methods to a large-scale corporation or just like a small family business.
Yeah.
Make sure your employees' morale is the right level, on every level. Thank you for joining us.